might be overrunning now because I haven't got my notes. Anyway, so I feel a little bit like a cuckoo in this room. I'm surrounded by librarians and archivists and other information professionals, and I'm not. I guess I'm a sort of digital web wonk. I've been doing these sorts of things for as long as the web's existed. And anything I say today you should probably take with a pinch of salt. When the web came along, I thought it didn't really have a lot of future. I thought Gopher was a much better way of doing things. So, what I wanted to talk to you a bit about are some of the problems that we're trying to solve at Wellcome. This isn't about how we catalogue things, it's not about standards. In some sense, it's a much simpler problem. It's a problem of how we provide digital access. And for us, digital access is mostly about providing access, to digital surrogates, images of real-world objects. We do have born digital collections, but they're smaller in number, and the focus of the work here is looking at how we provide access to our catalogues and digital items. So we've got 4 big problems that I wanted to focus on. The first one is that, bluntly, people don't know what's in the collection. The collection, as sort of Jenny hinted at, is large. We have about 1.2 million items. It's incredibly diverse, and no one knows that. And that's a problem because it means that our only interface into this is searching. If you don't know what's in there, you don't know what to search for. It's also a problem from we want a diverse number of users because we're not attracting people who otherwise would be interested in it if only they knew that the material was there. Our second problem is that people typically don't know what they're searching across. Google has taught people that, broadly speaking, you can just do free text searching. And that obviously is not what we have. What we have are metadata, so catalogue records. We've got images of things. If possible, we have OCR records of those text files. If not, we don't have OCR records. So that's a problem. People don't know what to expect. There's also a lack of context. So when people do a search, when they find something, they're presented with quite a confusing interface. And that's because in moving from paper catalogues to digital, yes, we made it searchable, we made it easier to search, but we made it far less understandable. We've atomised our content to the point at which you have no idea what you're looking at. I also say that, this is actually a lie, by the way. I say that you think all these things are searchable, and in theory they are searchable. We have a click-through rate from search results of about 15%. That's not untypical. Think what that means. 85% of searches result in no result. Don't find what you want. Have to search again, or you give up and go away. A fourth problem is how we provide access for all. And there's a number of different ways this sort of plays out. So the first is digitising things. So we have a large digitalisation programme. Depends a bit on what we're digitising, but we're adding around 250, 300,000 images a month to the collection, and that's across books, manuscripts, archives, and artworks. But that's not all of it. We also want to license those images in a way that make it easy for others to use, not just on our own site, but elsewhere. So we're making those images available on Wikicommons, on Internet Archive, on Europeana, and other places. We're licensing those images permissively so that other people can use them, do things with them as easily as possible. And we're providing programmatic access to it so that people who want to can write software to access it themselves. But access isn't just about digital or digitalisation. It's also about trying to provide a decent reading experience. One of the things that you can say about a library is it's designed to be a great reading experience. It's comfortable, it's well lit, it's a nice place to be. Online, we make you read through a letterbox. This is not a good reading experience. This makes it hard for people. This is as much a problem as access as anything else. So what are we doing about all of this? The first thing to realise is that this is not about designing a digital library. It's trying to look at the contextual experience of our users and understand what they're trying to do. When I first joined Wellcome, because I'm not a librarian, I sort of hung around in the library and just listened to what was going on. And one of the things that was depressingly common was that someone on the desk, yes, I know what you're after. No, you can't search that way. You have to go and do this. If ever there was an indication that as a digital professional we're not doing our job, it's that conversation. Now, the nice thing about it is that if you listen to what the librarian's saying, a lot of those problems are entirely soluble with software and good design. They're not impossible. But what we need to do is we need to understand the way in which people are trying to access the material, the way in which librarians are trying to help people access that material, and sort of capture it, codify it in the software, encapsulate a librarian within the code. And if we do that, we can start to help make libraries, the online experience, a useful, powerful thing for researchers. We also have to think that, or remember, that digital platforms are a platform in their own right. They're not just there in the service of the physical space. Yes, if you want to go and physically request an item, you do need to interact with this stuff, but that's not the be-all and end-all of it. We're also familiar with library systems that we sort of maybe don't question the weirdness of some of this. But think about how this would work for any other system. So I do a search, I get a weird set of results. I click through not to the item but to a metadata record about that item, at which point I then go and look at the item. Does any other website work that way? Is there any reason why that's a good user experience? Is there any reason why breaking up the content in the way that we do and divorcing it from the context helps people? I don't think it does. So the other thing mentioned, we're digitalising a lot of the material. So that's about providing openly licensed content, it's about providing digital access to it, and it's about providing interoperable services. And I've got 3 minutes. Right, next thing we're doing, we're writing some software. So we want to write software, but not, and this idea that we want software to be as sort of smart as a puppy, not as stupid as a slug. We want software to be helpful, not passive. We need it to help it pay attention to what's going on so that it helps people solve their tasks. And that means that we need to sort of move away from some of the structures of the library that we think of. Yes, we catalogue things in MARC and ISAG for archives. But that doesn't mean that that's the way in which you want to surface that material to help people understand it. You want to preserve that context, you want to preserve that structure, and then enrich it with things that software lets you do. So you can run machine learning across the collections. You can run OCR across it. So we developed our own model which allows us to surface this and map in things like MARC, things like ISAG, into a single coherent model. The other part of this, though, is not about software, it's not about cameras, it's not about pictures. It's about understanding people. It's about the culture that we have in developing and the processes and the use of technology in helping people solve problems. So, if we get that right, we create systems that are useful, we create content that's accessible, and we reach new people. There's another half an hour that I could talk about how we've organised ourselves in this space, but just as a sort of quick thing, how I think about digital stuff. The most important thing is to start with users. Don't assume you know what's going on. I don't know who our users are. I don't believe that any library professional or anybody is a useful proxy for a user. So you need to do the research and keep testing your assumptions. Think that your design is merely a hypothesis to be tested. Have dedicated teams. Projects are anathema, as far as I'm concerned, in the digital world. They don't look like capital projects. How many of us use GeoCities today? None, because the world moves on. So we need to have a system We need to manage systems in a way that allows us to constantly iterate across things. The assumption that you can whack a load of money into one system and leave it alone and put it into maintenance is not going to work. And finally, don't measure done because someone's listed a set of features that you've been successful at delivering. Measure done by performance. Keep iterating and researching until you get that performance better. And I made it my 10 minutes.
Yeah.